On tonight's edition of The Overtime, the Coconino and Flagstaff girls basketball team both took an early round exit in the playoffs. The Flagstaff boys managed to advance to the quarterfinals. We will tell you how. The NAU men's and women's basketball team were both involved in close games last weekend. We will recap those games. And finally, baseball season is back, and we talk expectations for Coconino, Flagstaff, and NPA. All that and more next up on The Overtime. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to this edition of The Overtime, Northern Arizona's only sports show. I'm your host, Matt Stern. We have a packed show for you tonight with a lot of local sports action. And joining me in the studio is sports reporter Cheyanne Mumphrey. Cheyanne, what is going on tonight?
Thanks, Matt. I'm excited to be here. Let's get right to it and talk some sports.
Yeah, let's kick things off with high school girls basketball. Both the Lady Eagles and the Lady Panthers were eliminated in the second round of the playoffs. Who had the better season, Flagstaff or Coconino?
Well, Matt, the Coconino girls had a pretty tough season, but they went 21-14 overall, much better than last season. I think for the Panthers, it was a successful season. They made it to their section championship and the second round of the AIA state tournament. Even though they may not have gotten the results they wanted, I would say they were the underdogs going in, and they proved they could hang with their crosstown rivals from Flagstaff High. Looking at the Eagles, the Flagstaff girls were expected to do much better than they did this year. With a 24-8 overall record and 11 section wins, there were high expectations for the Eagles to make it to the quarterfinals. Falling short of their goals, I think it is safe to say that even though the Eagles have dominated throughout the year, the Coconino girls had a more successful season overall.
Yeah, Cheyanne, I have to agree with most of the points you just made. Now, it is really tough to say who had the better season because their seasons were nearly identical. In the second round of the playoffs, I think Coconino had a more satisfying season because Flagstaff had much higher expectations and they didn't get as far as they would have liked. But Flagstaff was by far the more dominant team throughout the regular season. Now, from the girls to the boys, the Flagstaff boys basketball team was able to advance to the quarterfinals against Shadow Mountain High School. Cheyanne, how was Flagstaff able to pull out the close victory against Cesar Chavez?
Well, I think Coach Kirk made some smart decisions this game. The Eagles did not need to make any drastic changes to their offensive strategy. However, they focused more on defense, which kept the game close the entire fourth quarter. Against a strong offensive team like Cesar Chavez, the Eagles were able to score when they needed to, not taking any hero shots but steadily keeping the lead. The Eagles went into the final quarter with an 8-point lead, but you have to give Cesar Chavez props during the end there as they were coming back with determination. They just couldn't overcome the Eagles.
Yeah, Flagstaff played a team that have scored over 100 points twice this season and broken 90 points a few other times. Cesar Chavez knows how to put the ball in the basket, but against the Eagles, they only managed to score 64 points. The key to Flagstaff victory was its outstanding defense and their ability to rebound and prevent second chance opportunities. Their size and length down low was able to neutralize the high-powered offense of Cesar Chavez. Now, staying on the basketball court, the NAU men's and women's team were back in action last weekend as they both were involved in some very close games. The men lost a 3-point nail-biter at home, and the women lost in overtime, extending their losing streak to 6 games. Cheyanne, what do the women need to do to snap this losing streak?
This season, the Lumberjacks have really been competing against themselves, Matt. The number of turnovers in the Weber State game alone matched their season worst. The women struggled with 28 turnovers, and Weber was able to capitalize on nearly every mistake the Jacks made. In the last 6 games, the Jacks have lost by an average of about 9 points, so they're not getting blown out. They just need to take care of the ball and keep doing what they're doing. If the Lady Lumberjacks can successfully shut down teams defensively and limit the number of mistakes, they are looking at a winning streak. They are great on offense with freshmen Calais Papalo and Alyssa Rader, but it takes defense to win championships.
Now let's move over to the men's team. They dropped a close one by 3 points against Weber State. The Lumberjacks had multiple chances down the stretch to tie the game and send it into overtime. Now, they played a very good game up until the last minute when Chris Yonku missed some key free throws with 30 seconds left, which would have brought them within 1. And after that, they still had a few more chances to send the game into overtime, but they just could not get the job done. They did not get the best shot they could have in that situation and forced up shots that did not really have a chance to go in. The Lumberjacks really need to work on crunch time situations and learn to get the shots that give them the best opportunity to win games. Now let's move on to our final topic of the night. March is just around the corner, signaling the return of baseball. Flagstaff, NPA, and Coconino are all vying to make the playoffs this season. Cheyanne, what do you expect from these three teams as the season begins?
Well, Matt, I want to focus on the Eagles. Flagstaff did not do so well last season with a 10-18 overall record, winning only 2 of their section games. Despite this, I expect them to go into the season ready to compete, and with 10 returning players, I can see the Eagles making it to the playoffs this year. Across town, the Panthers are looking to have an even more successful season than last year. Coming off a second-place 4-2 section record, only behind Mingus Union by 1 game, Coconino is sure to do well this season.
Yeah, Cheyanne, Coconino and NPA both made the playoffs with stellar records, and I like their chances yet again to make the playoffs. Coconino returns the bulk of its playoff roster from last year, and I believe that this team has improved a lot since last season. They won a playoff game last year, and I think they can build on that confidence they gained and be much better. Now, NPA had a stellar record at 18-5 last season and earned a first-round bye, but their playoff lives were short-lived, losing in the second round. NPA returns a plethora of players who were major contributors on last year's squad. Now, I am interested to see if this team can get another bye in the playoffs and take advantage of it this time. Now, coming up after the break, our sports reporter Cordero McMurray sat down with NEU tennis player Eden Peleg. Stay tuned.